There it is. There it is. The one thing we did not want to see. Nate Diaz getting cracked and dropped by Jake Paul. And it happened. Fifth round, the same round Jake said he was going to knock out Nate. He drops Nate with a tricky left hook. He kept throwing a lot of left hooks early on. I noticed he was throwing, and everyone's worried about Jake's big right, his powerful right, but he was actually throwing the left hook a lot, and Nate kept that right arm. He's a southpaw, so he kept that right arm low a lot, that right hand. If he just kept that hand up a little more, I think he could have did a little better, but he wasn't expecting that left hand because I think he was more worried about the right. And just Jake, it was a good tactic by Jake. You could tell it was a decision of his to let's go left hand more, and he was throwing that lead left, like not so much of a setup, but like a counter lead to whatever Nate was throwing and catching him coming in with his hands down. And because he landed at least 4, 5, 6 of those throughout the fight up until the knockdown. Actually, he might have landed a few more after that, but before like first couple rounds, he was landing that, Yeah, I just finished watching the Jake Paul, Nate Diaz fight. Went all 10 rounds. Spoiler alert, Jake Paul wins the decision. I didn't really agree with the scorecards as much. I was going for Nate for sure, but at the same time, there's no way Nate won. But, I thought he won at least 2, 3 rounds. It wasn't like, not, was it 99, 91 or whatever they're saying, 98, 91, like basically 9 rounds of one, stuff like that. I don't think it was that. 2, 3 rounds. Give or take. There was some close rounds there too. Like round 2 was close. Round 1, Jake came out, with a heavy pace. Like I thought he would. I figured like he would come out strong the first round or two, first 3, but he actually maintained a good pace, or at least be able to throw power shots throughout the whole fight, all 10 rounds. But I'm saying I figured like he would have came, he was gonna come in like just super aggressive. He's faster, he's stronger, younger, all that. So I figured like he would try to blow his wad a little, and he had success. That right hand to the body was affecting Nate too, and I think that might have zapped some of Nate's gas tank. There was a few times where Nate was breathing hard and like doing the thing, holding the ropes like he's tired. Maybe he was a little gimmick, like trying to bait him, but at the same time, I think he was a little gassed too, trying to buy time, to being a showman that he is. Gamesmanship, all that, but he was starting to get hit to that body a lot early. I think Jake invested pretty nicely with that right hand to the body, and like I said, the lead left. He kept catching Nate, and Nate did some good stuff too. I think the commentary was a little biased. I think it was Dan Harder, Sean Porter. Ariel was there too, whatever. But I think it was a little biased towards Jake, and in a lot of regards, like every single time he threw something, it was just all outside Jake and how sloppy Nate looked. Like there was one, like I was looking at a highlight. It was a replay actually, like later in the fight, maybe 6th, 7th round or whatever. And Nate literally landed like 5 out of 6 punches, like straight, just where you see Jake, boom, his head. Jake has a good chin too himself. He has a great chin. So, Nate did land some shots on him. Yeah, they're not the prettiest. It is kind of sloppy looking. And it looks like a lot of times he'll throw 2 punches at the same time with 2 hands. He's like throwing a right and a left at the same time, and whatever lands. And then he just throws. There are a lot of pity patter punches, but then when he does put some heat on it, it is, a little more powerful. But I get it. Jake definitely won every aspect. He looks more like a boxer there. He's been training nothing but boxing 3, 4 years. Nate has his style, and I think it's effective. I think this was old Nate. It's a different story, a little bit better gas tank, just a little more volume with his punches. Because when Nate was going forward, he was really, you could tell Jake didn't like that. Like Jake don't like to fight doesn't seem to like it anyway, with his back to the ropes more or going backwards. He wants to be in the center of the cage, which I thought also it would be this way. Like I feel like the center of the cage is where he wants to land a big shot, that right hand. He was looking for it a lot, but he also used it as bait to land that left hook, which was nice. So, he did a lot of good things in there. Jab, Nate did put a lot of pressure on him, and it did smother him a lot. There was a lot of holding. I think Jake was actually holding more than Nate, which when Nate was hurt, I wish I was like, man, tie him up. I kept screaming at the TV, like, tie him up. Like, like at least grab up, try to, not get hit, for a little bit. And he rolls the punch as well. Unbelievable, legendary chin on Nate Diaz. Because Jake Paul, everyone knows he could crack. He's flatlined. A bunch of MMA guys, but still he's flatlined some guy. You could tell he has power. He dropped Nate. Not everyone drops Nate like that either. it was a left hook. He didn't see coming. But I'm saying he definitely has power. So I mean, and he's fast, explosive. So I mean, it's just crazy chin on Nate just to show that toughness. After that 5th round knockdown, I didn't think he was gonna get out of that round, let alone 5 or 4 more rounds. That was the 5th round. He got dropped. I was like, oh man, it's not looking good. I think he's done. You know, I mean, that's what I was thinking anyway. And after a while, it's just kind of like, well, at least he didn't get knocked out. You know, like you got that moral victory where at least he didn't get knocked out. He came on strong, like 7th, 8th round, actually, as Jake probably was taking a little breather. I mean, he was putting a heavy output himself. Both guys, they did throw a lot of punches. You know, it wasn't like it was not like a lot of dancing around. Like Jake was trying to go backwards a lot more than usual, but that's just John and Nate. And also Nate just has that insane cardio where he is going to keep going forward. So, I mean, I think he was just putting the pace, trying to put the pace on Jake. But like I said, Jake, I think he impressed a lot here. Obviously, it's Nate Diaz. It's not a boxer. He's an MMA legend, all that. He's boxing. He has a kind of a boxing style. But either way, it showed a lot of heart because there was some times where I think Nate was landing some shots on him and overwhelming Jake a little where he was tying him up. But at the same time, he was able to weather that and still have like power in the last few rounds where he was landing big shots still. Where I was still kind of like, damn, I was on the edge of my seat, but more like I didn't want to see Nate get knocked out, you know. And Nate did do some good things in there as well. Like I said, the commentary pretty biased and just like they don't understand, like just saying, oh, those slaps, he's not turning his punches over. And I get it. There's fighters like Kazagi was kind of like that. They mentioned that Michael Nunn was like that until when James Toney, Michael Nunn, this is going way back, but Michael Nunn was, you know, a champ like that. He didn't always turn over his punches. I just think that's Nate's style, like the little slappy style where he's just constantly touching you, and then he'll turn one in and put some heat on it, you know. And there was a few instances where he did that in this fight. It just wasn't enough. It was too little, too late when he started on strong. That's what I was thinking too. When it came to the 8th round, I was like, all right, well, if he goes 8, 9, 10, and just finishes strong, at least even if you lose it on the scorecards, it's still kind of like I really whipped his ass, you know. Like he could really say I still kicked his ass because you know who do you want to be at the end of the fight type thing, But nah, I mean, credit to Jake. I mean, he's hungry. He's taking it serious. He looked jacked in there, good shape, ready to go. I mean, that's Nate. I don't know. I know he's a clean athlete. Maybe he should have TRT'd up for this one. I don't know. Maybe that got a little more jacked. But, I mean, you know, Jake's a big, strong dude, you know, and he's hungry. You know, he's just hungry to prove, like, to himself and to the world that, you know, he can box, he can fight. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen. Are they going to rematch in PFL or in MMA like they're talking? I mean, this did huge numbers. The crowd, it sounded just as packed as, you know, Spence and Crawford last week. You know what I mean? Like just the energy there, you could tell. It was definitely a pro Nate crowd. They're in Texas. But it was a pro Nate crowd. They were booing Jake. Everything said. Even at the end of his fight speech, anyone who believes in themselves, just do it. That's the power of self belief. All this good stuff he's saying, and they're booing him. Like, how do you boo that? Like, what I mean. But it is what it is. He's gonna get hate. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it was very entertaining. Honestly, it was more. This is a night where boxing was more entertaining than the UFC. As far as at least the main fight. The main fight in the UFC, I mean, that was kind of a snooze fest compared to this one. This one, like I said, I was on the edge of my seat. A lot of it was because I was like, damn, I just didn't want to see Nate get cracked, or hurt or anything, or damn it, knocked out. And at least we didn't see that. Live the fight another day, and maybe they'll rematch it. It'll be different. There was that one point where Nate had him in a guillotine, like in that 9th round, standing guillotine. Like, if that's a real fight, who knows if he really does tighten up on that. Who knows if Jake, he has a wrestling background. He's training with Bo Nickel. He said in the post-fight that, I would have dropped down, double-legged him and slammed him on his head. I mean, that's possible. Who knows? I mean, definitely a more explosive type athlete than Nate, but same time, Nate has the experience. And the experience is what got him through 10 rounds of getting hit a lot and just coming forward like a zombie, like just eating it, talking crap, being Nate basically in that fight. So did he get beat? Yes. Dominated? Yeah, kind of. I don't agree like 9 rounds of 1, like I'm thinking more like 7-3, even 6-4-ish, but with the 10-8, with the knockdown in the 5th, it's still, pretty decisive victory, obviously, but there was some close rounds in there. I mean, could have went either way. Like, second round was close, could have went either way. Jake came out guns blazing. First round, definitely won that round. he looked like he cracked Nate immediately. Oh damn! Like Nate's like, oh shit, what you guys signed me up for? This fool can crack. But I think also, like Nate it's not like Nate hasn't seen guys who hit hard or faster than him or stronger or whatever. I think that's pretty much a lot of people he has fought. So just as far as being just more explosiveness and stuff like that. Fast twitch. Muscles. Nate's not the fast twitch guy. He's the just keep coming and pounding you and just not get tired guy, and you're going to get tired before him, and once that's done, no matter, I don't care what, if you're tired of shit and you're done. So who knows what happens if they do fight MMA. I mean, obviously Jake has a background in like wrestling, like high school, but he's like, say he's training with Bo Nickel, who's a rising star right now and an elite wrestler, grappler, period, with his transitions with wrestling and jiu-jitsu. He does that really well. So, I mean, if he's training with people like that, he has the money to train with the best guys. He could go AKA, he could go wherever, America's Top Team, hire these guys and just work with him probably, so do whatever he wants as far as that. But, and he's going to train his ass off. But, that's a different animal too. Like Nate Diaz, like 20 years of freaking like jiu-jitsu, like choking people out, all shapes and sizes and strengths and explosiveness and all that. I mean, Nate, it's not anything Nate hasn't seen. And it shows that if Nate can take his punches here, which that was a test that was a big question. Is Nate going to be able to handle this power with the gloves? I get it, the bigger gloves, but like, I feel like there's a harder punch with the boxing gloves than the MMA gloves. MMA gloves, yeah, they're lighter. So it's only, yeah, they might get cuts more, stuff like that. But I feel like the heavier, the little bit more weight you got on it, it's good. It's more weight. It's just like if you have a bat that weighs, if you hit someone have a bat that weighs whatever, how many ounces, and one that's lighter, you're going to get more power out of the one that's a little heavier to swing. I think it's the same concept even with the gloves, but who knows? Like I said, Nate could choke him out. I mean, we'll see how that fight goes, or if they even do that or go boxing. I think just the way this was like a huge sellout type event, I'm sure the pay-per-view numbers did well. We'll have to wait and see that. All the you will have to wait and see like exactly how much money it made or whatever. But obviously it was an electric crowd, good promotion, all that. So I mean, he pretty much call a shot. Like if he wants to get back into boxing, he has his own promotion, Real Fighting or whatever it's called. So co-promoted with Jake with this. So if they can do something with PFL, and no matter what, he's going to make some money. There's Nate Diaz on the ticket. People are going to watch. People are watching this. Like I said, this is more exciting than the UFC fight tonight anyway. Tatiana Suarez did her thing. Shout out to her. She's from Rancho or from this area, Fontana-ish. So yeah, she did her thing and beat Jessica Andrade, which I knew she would be a favorite, but I did not know she would make it look that easy and just get the tap. So unbelievable, and hopefully she'll get a title shot soon. I mean, she's ranked 10th, but barely coming back after a long layoff. It was her second fight, so we'll see what happens in maybe 2 more to get the title. I mean, it's always the same at the top anyway, so let's mix it up and give her a shot and see what happens. But that's a whole different video. This is Nate Diaz, Jake Paul reaction. Jake Paul gets the win. I mean, and everyone's going for Nate Diaz as MMA fans, and look at the whole crowd was going for Nate Diaz. Huge disappointment. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Nate showed his legendary chin, showed his toughness, was still in there at the end, still talking crap, still flipping him off. And, and he gave him respect in the post-fight, the interviews, which was cool to see, because he talks a lot of crap, but, same time, he's like, yeah, well, he's good. Yeah, he gave him some props. And I always said all along with Jake, it's like what he's doing, he's putting eyeballs on boxing. Like I said, this crowd was just as pumped up and loud as Crawford, Spence, which are the 2 best fighters in the world, So it's like you got guys that is, you want to say gimmicky or what. Jake's other fights didn't have this type of buzz around it. Because Nate Diaz is the A side. I've been saying that. But Jake also, hopefully he wins some more fans, even from those critics, or whoever, like all the people that are booing tonight. At the end of the day, you still got to give respect to the man going in there, training his butt off and putting on a show and doing his best out there, regardless if he was able to finish Nate or not. You know, he basically unloaded and he dominated. He kicked some ass tonight, and still got to give him some respect for that. No one really does that to Nate, you know. But yeah, it was an exciting fight. I mean, I can't wait to see what's next with these guys, what they're gonna do. Tommy Fury, there's always a Tommy Fury rematch for Jake if he wants to go after that. He's mentioned he's really wants to do the Nate Diaz and MMA thing. So, which I mean, that's commendable too for him. He says for 10 million, which is a lot of money, but still, just to say, all right, I beat you in mine, regardless if Nate's older, whatever. That's still something that he has like 40 fights in, you know, or whatever, 40 plus fights. So, you know, I mean, that's must see TV as well. That'll be on PFL umbrella. They'll do a Francis card. Oh yeah. Also, I didn't watch this whole fight. I do need to go back and watch it. But Chris Avila beat an unanimous decision Jeremy Stevens, which I was not expecting that. You know, I thought Jeremy Stevens would show the dog in him, but it just shows MMA and boxing are still different. Like you can have hands and power in MMA and come in here and just your technical and just a different efficiency with your energy. You know, like you use a lot more energy, maybe a little more lumbering than someone who's more seasoned and just used to throwing punches and little not, you know, like expending so much energy on defense or offense, you know, kind of just flowing with it. And I think that's what Chris Avila was showing from what I've seen. I didn't watch that whole fight, so I can't see. But same thing with Amanda Serrano, Heather Hardy. I mean, from that just looked kind of like almost like a one-sided beat down Serrano, you know, just a little better. But it shows the toughness always with the MMA guys are just so tough as hell. Like you could tell like they could take this beating and just keep coming forward, just keep getting punished or whatever it is. Like technically they might not be there, but there's certain things that you can't teach. And that's just that mental and toughness and mindset that a lot of these guys show, all the MMA guys, because MMA is way more grueling of a training. You know, it's a grind, and these guys are used to it. Maybe the technical aspect, it just the hands is not there, obviously, like a boxer, because that's what they're concentrating on. So, I mean, that's just something that it's always going to be that way. You know, I mean, you put a boxer into an MMA training camp or just a week of training MMA, they're going to gas out immediately. Wrestling, grappling, all that stuff. Even just kickboxing, whatever, is going to be a different energy that you're not used to. And that only comes with experience. So it's not like MMA guys can't learn how to box. They just need to put in more time and get better. So I'm anxious to see if Nate Diaz does try to do that and keep going. Maybe, like he was saying in the post-fight, maybe fight someone a little smaller, you know, because Jake's a big dude, strong, you know, maybe get someone more. I mean, Nate Diaz he's fought at lightweight and welterweight. It was basically where he was fighting at UFC. This fight was at 185, so he had to put on weight for this fight, you know. I mean, not to make excuses or anything like that. They signed the contract. I'm just saying for Nate's benefit, maybe go with a guy his own size. Punches might not have been so effective, you know, on him or damaging. Could have been a different story. Who knows? I mean, anxious to see. But it was exciting. A good show for what I've seen. I've seen the last highlights of the Co and the co-main. But I watched this fight. I mean, it was good. You know, I'd watch that again if they fought. I'm anxious. Hopefully MMA. You know, we'll see what happens there. I mean, you know, hopefully Nate could get some redemption, you know. But, yep, that's all I got.